adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. So we're going to take 2/3 and subtract 3/5 from that fraction. And we want to remember our process steps as we do this. And the first step is that we need common denominators. When you add or subtract fractions, you have to have common denominators. And I have a 3 here in this fraction, 5 here. I don't have common denominators. So I need to go ahead and create some denominators, some common denominators here so I can accurately subtract this. So I'm going to think of a number that both 3 and 5 go into, a lowest common multiple. And I believe that number is 15. 5 times 3 actually is 15. So I know 5 and 3 both go into 15. So I'm going to rewrite this with some new common denominators here. And I'm going to look at 3. I'm going to actually use some arrows here. And I'm going to say, okay, 3 goes into 15. How many times? Well, 3 times 5 is 15. So I'm going to come in here and say, if 3 times 5 is 15, I'm going to take my numerator and run it through the 5. 2 times 5 is 10, so that's my new numerator, and you don't want to forget to convert your numerators here. On the other side, how many times does 5 go into 15? Well, 5 times 3 is 15. So that means over here, when I do my arrow here, 3 times 3 is going to get me 9. So now I've got this 10/15 minus 9/15, and we can move on to our next step here. Step 2. And again, I'm going to rewrite this. It doesn't save it for me, but it was 10/15 minus 9/15. Sorry, let's write that in the blue color here. Step 2 is add or subtract numerators only. Don't forget, just numerators. You're going to leave the denominators. So when I subtract, 10 minus 9 gets me 1. And that is 1 over, and I keep the denominator, 15. 1 over 15. So far I have 1 over 15. Step 3, remember I had 1 over 15 here when I subtracted, is to simplify or convert answer to a mixed number. Well, I don't have to do either one of those in this case, because 1/15 is, if you have a 1 in the numerator, you are completely simplified. So my final answer would be 1/15 for 2/3 minus 3/5. So definitely double check and make sure that you can't simplify your answer, or if you get a improper fraction, you need to turn it to a mixed number. Let's try working with a mixed number now. Now what if we add and we have a mixed number and a whole number? So here we're going to add 3 and a fourth, 3 and 1/4 to the whole number 7. Okay? Well, first step is we need to convert any mixed numbers to improper fractions. And I do have a mixed number. It's right here. It's 3 and 1/4. And you can't work with it the way it is. We're going to go ahead and take it and turn it into an improper fraction. So to do this, I'm going to say, all right, 3, we take the denominator and multiply it by the numerator. 4 times 3 is 12. And then we add that numerator right there, which is 1. And we should get 13. So that gives me 13 as a numerator. And I keep the same denominator that I had, which is a 4, and it turns into 13/4 plus. And then I have a 7 here, and I can go ahead and turn that into 7 over 1, because that's what that whole number is right there. So I've now converted my mixed number to an improper fraction, which is 13/4, and then taken my whole number and turned that into a fraction. So 13/4 plus 7 over 1, and I'll rewrite it right over here, 13/4 plus, let's see, 7 over 1 equals, find common denominators. Well, do I have common denominators? Well, I do not have common denominators. I have a 4 and I have a 1 right here. So I need to find a common denominator. Well, if you have a 1 in one of them, that means you have a pretty easy job here, because that means 1 goes into every number. So 1 goes into 4, so I can just leave 4 as the common denominator of each one of these. We're still going to add here, and then convert the numerators. So because 4 stayed the same right here, 13 will stay the same here. 1 changed to 4 here. So 1 times 4 is 4. So that means 7 times 4 should get me 28. So now I've got my common denominators, and I have 13/4 plus 28/4. Let me write that real quick. 13/4 plus 28/4. And my third step is to add or subtract, remember, numerators only. So let's add this up real quick. Well, numerators only, I know right away I'm going to keep my fourths down here. And 28 plus 13, 28 plus 10 should get me 38, plus 3 should get me 41. So I should get 41 fourths right there when I add it. And you'll notice, I think we've done everything right, but we have an improper fraction answer, and we never want to leave an answer in improper fraction form. So 41 fourths, which is what we have right over here, needs to, step 4, simplify the answer, turn back into a mixed number. So if that had turned out to be a regular fraction, we could have left it and taken that answer. It's an improper fraction, need to turn it back into a mixed number. So we're going to take 41, just like this, and we are going to divide it. The top number gets divided, the numerator divided by the denominator, and we'll turn this into a mixed number. So let's do the division. Well, 4 goes into itself one time. 4 times 1 is 4. I'm going to subtract and get 0. Bring down a 1. 4 does not go into 1, so I'll put a 0 there. 4 times 0 is 0. I'm going to get 1. And that's going to kind of leave me with my answer right over here. Once I have nothing else to bring down, I've now turned this into my mixed number. 10 and 1/4 will be my final answer. 10 wholes, and then I'll have a fourth right over there. And with this particular question, we could have shortcut this thing. We could have, you can't always do this, but we could have just added here the 3 and the 7. 7 plus 3 gets you 10. And then we have this 1/4 left over, which would have gotten us the quick answer. But like I said, you can't always do that, and you want to make sure you know these steps, these 4 steps, when you go through and add or subtract with mixed numbers involved.